Welcome to IAYTD. Do you want to win a sweet Batman Funko Pop? We are giving away this bad boy and 4 other Funko Pops. To learn how to get them, there is a video in the description which outlines 6 different ways you can get an entry, and you can do all of them if you're really a diehard. Now let's get on to the video. Welcome to I'm Your Target Demographic, and welcome to this week's What Is, focused on one of the most iconic superheroes of all time, Batman. We're going to dive into the history of the character, what makes him such an interesting character, and some ways that he's woven into pop culture. It all began in 1939, when Batman first appeared in an issue of Detective Comics. This singular issue was so popular that a copy sold in an auction in 2010 for over $1 million. The character was created for this issue by 2 men, Bob Kane and Bill Finger. There's a bit of controversy here, as only Bob Kane was credited with Batman's creation until 2015. That was part of the contract supposedly, but more and more details have been coming to light about Bill Finger's contributions, which included turning the red tight-wearing Batman into the much darker visual aesthetic that we're used to. Finger also came up with the real name of Batman, Bruce Wayne, as well as the name Gotham City, and many of Batman's supporting characters including Robin and the Joker. But he was supposedly content with just having a job, so he didn't fight for his name to be included in the contract. Only recently, through research and interviews about this, did DC Comics finally start to include Bill Finger's name as the co-creator of the character. Batman and his story arcs in Detective Comics took hold, and they had a steady popularity even through the 50s when general interest in comics was starting to lessen. It was really slumping until a risk paid off when the Batman television show in 1966 really took off and increased comic book sales tremendously. This show embraced the campy nature of the time, including large text on the screen to resemble the look of the comic books. While often looked back on with nostalgia, the show only lasted 3 seasons, but they managed a surprising 120 episodes. When the show was eventually canceled, the comic book also took a dive. Throughout the 70s and 80s, circulation was still low, hitting an all-time low in 1985. Time to take another risk. Along came The Dark Knight Returns, written by Frank Miller. This story featured an older Batman, one who was retired from crime fighting. It was a dark story and one that highly inspired the 2016 film Batman v Superman, at least in tone and some aspects of the story. This arc not only reinvigorated the franchise, but is still considered one of the best Batman stories out there. This led to a series of stories that would push the boundaries of what was acceptable in comic books, including major characters going through traumatic experiences, torture, and even death. This shift in tone made its way to the big screen with a Batman feature film in 1989, starring Michael Keaton and directed by Tim Burton. The first 2 Batman films in this series are generally well regarded, but the last 2 made a dramatic shift almost back into the campy nature of the TV series, including a punny Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze and a wacky Jim Carrey as the Riddler.
All right, everyone, chill.
With these last 2 movies almost universally disliked, the films took a hiatus. Batman found more success on the small screen at this time too, with Batman the Animated Series in 1992. During this time, we'd get some of the most iconic performances for some of these characters, including voice actor Kevin Conroy as Batman and Mark Hamill, that's Luke Skywalker from Star Wars, as the Joker.
Sherlock Holmes has his Professor Moriarty, Batman has his Joker. That's why the Joker's endured for so long. Most people would just go out and commit the crime. He likes to announce that he's going to do things and challenge you to stop him.
To this day, these actors are still performing as these characters, including video games and animated movies. The next big leap for Batman came in 2005, when the Christopher Nolan trilogy kicked off, with the highlight being the middle film The Dark Knight, featuring an incredible performance by Heath Ledger, which won him an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, unfortunately just months after he passed away. These movies were known for being dark and gritty, and even influenced other film franchises to try to take that turn and make superheroes more grounded. The reason that this grounded approach works for Batman, and not so much with other heroes, is that Batman is grounded. He's one of the few superheroes in mainstream pop culture that has 0 powers. He's a guy, and this makes him as a character extremely relatable. When he faces off against Superman, an alien that is nearly unstoppable, you're rooting for the underdog. His lack of powers also translates to his villains, known as his rogues gallery. While some of his villains might have strange powers or weapons, most of them are just insane. These make for extremely dangerous and often intriguing villains. Batman as a character is also known for his detective skills, harkening way back to his origins in Detective Comics. He has to use his brain and technology to figure out creative solutions to difficult situations. Most notably, Batman is known for figuring out ways to stop all of his superpowered allies, in case he ever needs to stop them. This happened in the comics in a story arc called Tower of Babel, but was somewhat translated to an animated movie called Justice League Doom. Another aspect that really deserves to be an entire video is Batman's constant sidekick, a character named Robin. Casual fans may not know that there have been quite a few Robins since the creation of Batman. Most of them have grown up and taken on new titles, such as Nightwing and the Red Hood. His dynamics with the various Robins often serve a central role in his stories. Let's talk for a second about Batman's origin. When he was just a kid, the poor guy saw both of his parents killed in front of him. He grew up looking for vengeance against the guy who committed the crime, as well as wanting to stop other senseless acts of violence in the city. His origin has been explored greatly in most of his movie and animated outings, so I'm not going to go into too much depth. So let's flash forward to today. Currently we're seeing a new iteration of the character on the big screen in the DC Cinematic Universe, played by Ben Affleck. He's set to appear not only in future solo Batman movies, but also Justice League group movies, and even a small role in the upcoming Suicide Squad film, focused on various villains from the DC universe. So those are the basics. I know we missed a lot of variations of TV shows and moments from the comics, but this character has too much rich history to really cover in just a few minutes. This is a fascinating character that has managed to survive and adapt through many iterations and is continuing to do so. In the comments, let me know your favorite things about Batman. It could be movies, comics, shows, anything. Let's celebrate the Dark Knight.
Come on, Bruce. You can't die. I didn't kill you.